Listen to the people, listen to humanity, listen to the Parrot, Parrot TV, Parrot TV, Parrot TV, Parrot TV, Parrot TV, Parrot. Listen to the people, listen to humanity, listen to the Parrot, Parrot TV, Parrot TV, Parrot TV, Parrot TV. Listen to the people, listen to humanity, listen to the Parrot, Parrot TV, 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 Parrot TV.
The Literary Corner, brought to you by New York Parrot TV, the voice for humanity. Hello, welcome to New York Parrot's Literary Corner. I'm Dustin Pickering, your noble and honest host, and today we have George Onsy on episode 222. Congratulations with our program reaching its 222nd episode. George Onsy, who was born in 1953, is an Egyptian thinker, poet, artist, and professor of English and art, architecture, history, at the Egyptian-Russian University, Cairo, as well as other academies. His outstanding works of poetry and art calling for a universal, unifying spirituality have been published in his books, Voices from Eternity, India in 2014, Let's Be One in the One, India 2017, and with Oscar Wilde, Bookemon, as well as in many international anthologies, magazines, e-zines, and TV interviews. He is a recipient of several awards, notably the Global Icon of Peace Award 2017 and the Most Outstanding Peace Poet 2017, 2018 in Nigeria, and the Best Poet Award 2017, World Nation Writers Union, Kazakhstan, UME, Latina America. Reaching out to the world in 6 international languages, George Onsy is the founder, president of the International Peacemaking Association, Renaissance Millennium 3, RRM3, and has been lately nominated by many thinkers, writers, and conference organizers around the world for the Nobel Prize. We are glad to present George Onsy. I hope you're having an excellent day, George. How was your day there going in Egypt? You're on mute, sir.
Sorry?
There you go. Gotcha. So how's the day going in Egypt today?
Today it is very cold, I said.
Oh, wow.
But with the warmth of our meeting, I think things is much better. Thank you so much for this chance, getting together with you and talk about literature and the world of communication and human feelings together.
Absolutely. So tell me, what brought you into the world of literature and poetry in the beginning? Like, was there a teacher or maybe a parent or somebody that introduced you to the works of art that just, spurned your imagination and you just couldn't resist it from then on?
Well, as far as I remember, when I started my creative life or creative contribution, it was early childhood when I started as just a painter or doing some drawings. So I started actually with visual art, drawing and expressing myself through drawing. And little by little, I tried to put comments because the idea have been profound in a way that drawing only and symbolism, involved in every sketch or drawing I did, needed some comments using words. So the words started to grow by the time until it got into kind of verses, poetry, and then I started to write. And when I got to Facebook, I found a lot of encouragement, actually, especially from English speakers, writers, poets who encouraged me to go on with my ideas, with my poems. And I started to be, present at many poetry and literary gatherings around the world. And I shared in several festivals, whether in India, Italy, Africa, and other, and online, many anthologies and many I published some books in India, as you have said when you
Mhm.
introduced me. Thank you.
So, when you discuss in your bio a unifying world spirituality, how do you think poetry can present that, and what benefit do you think that would have overall for humanity?
Well, actually, most of conflicts going on in our world, wanting deeply our world and cutting it apart into pieces, with too much blood
Hmm.
around, all around. It's because our world is divided according to ideological thoughts or religious intolerance, or across all those things that tearing it apart. That's how I find my main mission, through art and writing and problem solving approach as well, not only as a soft approach, using literature and creative things, or art, but also analytical, and I'm working on different levels. So I'm trying to solve this problem
Hmm.
through the word, and through art, and through analytical study of problem solving, and other things, different levels, approaches.
Okay. So, are there any thinkers that you've read, philosophers who have influenced your thinking in that regard?
Well, I've been interested always reading philosophy, and I started study as a Sorbonne University, 1982, because I so loved. But the American approach compared to the European approach was more interesting. So when I came back from Europe, from France, I started under. A great professor and a friend called Fred Crowell from the University of Oregon, and he was working with me here in Cairo, among the expatriates from the United States, in a university or curriculum development staff, in a company
Mhm.
called Telemedia. And I started to develop with him some ideas, which culminated in my doctorate thesis, a geometrical approach for problem solving, to be practical, but taking everything from the world of symbols,
Hmm.
and the world of art, because it is, after all, it is interdisciplinary study, uh,
Mhm.
connecting art to literature, to geometry, to sacred geometry found in many symbols, and logos of the world, icons of the world. So all of that, I've tried to incorporate it into a paradigm for problem solving, how to visualize or map out complex problems in order to help our world.
So, what was it about the American approach to philosophy that you found more, I guess, and we were more enthusiastic about than the European study?
Well, as the great German professor of philosophy, of scientific philosophy, in his book, The Rise of Scientific Philosophy, he is a professor at Harvard University. He said, when we compare the scientific approach of philosophy compared to the literary approach,
Hmm.
So the European approach is more of literary, so far as I know, but maybe some trends like UK and modern trends are different from that. But I mean, he has opened me to a new approach for philosophy rather than the what I said speculative philosophy into analytical and systemic, not systematic but systemic, overall philosophy that tends to take the scientific approach rather than the speculative approach.
Hmm. So I want to thank Franca Colosa for saying great sharing. Thank you, dear Professor George Onsy, for Nobel Prize. You sure deserve it, and all prizes of literature, and more and more and more. Thanks for your contribution to transforming this world into a better place. Thank you, Franca, for your wonderful commentary there. And we appreciate that. Just keep watching. So when were you first interested when you were in your studies? Was there a moment when you just took off into the world of philosophy and incorporated it into your own, I guess you could say, pragmatic approach to the arts?
Uh, I used to incorporate my philosophy, especially of the eternal existence of human being, of human soul.
Hmm.
I'm always obsessed with the idea of eternity, so I'm trying to bring in that dimension of human existence into his actual daily life, and that's why I have a trend which is called "Enjoy Eternity in the Here and Now."
Hmm.
Enjoy eternally. A series of presentations that I shared in different countries around the world and online, and in my writings as well. And it's a kind of a psychosomatic approach for the harmony of body, mind, soul,
Hmm.
preparing the one to be in harmony with the matrix, the divine matrix or the universal matrix of the whole existence, consequently helping us face everyday challenges and
Hmm.
problems. Have I answered your question,
Yeah, I
or
think so. That's a good answer. I mean, it seems like it's sort of a preoccupation. How would you define eternity in the terms you're speaking of it?
well, eternity is a natural extension of life. The
Hmm.
life in us cannot be conquered by what we call death. This is just a kind of a pathway to another life or another form of existence, but we still exist. And our deep belief in existence or feeling of existence makes the death of low presence, of low impact on our feelings and understanding, behavior, and everything.
Hmm. So when you're writing and you go back and you look at your writing, and do you go through an extensive editing process, and how does that work for you?
Well, I try to incorporate what I'm talking about, all this philosophy, into my writings, and but my writing and paintings, always my writings, visualized with either a design or one of my paintings together when I post them, and
Hmm.
that's why when I published my books are both poems and art. You see.
So when you actually put together like write a poem, do you go back and do you revise a lot, or do you just put together something based on your paintings that you think makes sense to the what you're presenting in the visual art?
Uh, well, when I write a poem, I start with the idea, and I don't like to write traditional ideas. My approach must be always different.
Hmm.
So, for example, if you can give me, is there any space to give examples?
Sure, why not?
Yeah. For example, I've lately, I mean, this year I founded, after founding several groups on Facebook of eternity, touching
Mhm.
about eternity called Eternorama and Awakening and so on. I made a real foundation, gathering over 150 members of the luminaries of the world, writers and thinkers, called Rinascimento Renaissance Millennium 3. It
Mhm.
started from Europe,
Okay.
okay, in order to keep the identity of Europe, facing the rapid demographic changes that she has now, and that so it's a
Oh,
peace
wow.
movement in order to turn that into something balanced and peaceful, that change. Okay, so it has European and people from the other continents as well. Um, so I started a series that's published mainly in the Spanish known magazine called Azhar in
Mhm.
Madrid.
Okay.
And this is that over the 20 times I write there, it is called To Europe with Love. I started to write to Europe, for example, okay?
Mhm.
Because my focus was in Europe and Europe future, as we put the slogan of our organization, international organization, together with Europe future, with Europe's future, together with Europe for the world. So let me give you examples. I have actually two poems so far addressed to Europe. Okay,
Okay.
the first talking about her name, which is taken from a name of goddess, Europa, and the second is talking about her future in the challenge of refugees,
Mhm.
that she's facing. So please give me. Um, I will look for it because it is not in the. I will go deeper and say it has this picture I sent to the studio
Okay.
with Laocoon Sun. Okay, and here is the. Have you got the picture in order to display it?
Let's see.
Hello.
Does our producer have the picture available
Yeah,
to show?
it has the logo of our association, Rinascimento Renaissance Millennium 3, with the logo of Vitruvius man of Leonardo da Vinci,
Mhm. Mhm.
and it has the famous artwork sculpture that depicts Laocoon, the man who tried to warn Troy, the city of Troy, according to humor
Okay.
legend. Okay,
Trying to see if we
not
can get
to
our
access
producer
to the
to.
Trojan Horse, and it is entitled "To Europe with Love" number 2. This is my second poem of that series to address to Europe.
Okay.
Have you got the picture? Can you display it, please?
Not yet. Not quite
I
yet. But
sent it. I
yes.
sent. Shall I say?
Let me
I
see. I'm
sent
not
it
sure
one.
if he's. I'm waiting to
Okay,
see. Okay. There
let
we go.
me.
We got it. We've got it now. Thank
Yeah,
you.
okay. You can display it while I'm reading, please. Okay.
Okay. Sure.
Okay. To Europe with love. Names for Laocoon's sons. Europe, dear, where is your ancient Greece's wise man gone? Have you ever his two sons known? If you don't know, let me tell you. One is France's Marat, the other Germany's Goethe. Both with their father, didn't survive the deadly serpent's bites. The first, the revolution's martyr, for his patriotism. The second, for challenging through his false all devil's pacts. Something the Trojan horse is galloping over the abyss between yesterday's myth and today's facts.
Hmm.
Okay.
That's a very heavy poem
I
there.
am continuing. Okay.
Okay.
Um, oh, If only England's Shakespeare has sketched in his plays any leader somewhere between his retired King Lear and imperialism addicted Macbeth. But as both are now powerless, penniless in the playwright's inky graveyard, some may think that foreseeing Trojan Horse's reincarnation is not that hard. Wait, let me try to ask Italy's Dante, who's still busy building an endless ladder between his Inferno and Paradiso. Have you mentioned in your Commedia 1001 Troys, where every Laoconian party is condemned for being too wise? Some would ask, but should Trojan horse always be of such a massive size? But at Dante's Paradise, though unmentioned, Spain's Cervantes, who had once been trodden by pastor horses wild, has been always there, ready to send his Don Quixote, who has taught the whole world how we should be ridiculous in order to secure our crazy dreams. Thus, he finds no shame to ride the ever pregnant wooden horse, for whatever it bowls would bring, there will be no risk. Yes, remember all parties, all factions, all unions, all camps, all sects, that the past plaguing horse had no rider, no spur, no bridle. Today, to keep peace alive, we should say, where there is a horse, there is a horseman. That what I have guessed, dear Europe, from your Renaissance heroes' works. And that what a coming soon Renaissance of no arms, but only banners white, will bloodlessly put into action. So let's wait for the prophetic night. Thank you.
Wow. It's a very lot of symbols from mythology and from ancient works and even more contemporary works like Dante all the way back to Homer and all the the classic canonical works in there. That's a very profound poem. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you
I
for your
love the
appreciation.
artwork too. Wonderful artwork. That's a really interesting sort of collage looking thing there. It's like very interesting. And we have Franca Colosa again, interesting dissertation on Dante's Divine Comedy, which takes us on his long journey through Hades to the gates of heaven. Thank you so much, Franca, for your wonderful words. Just keep watching the program and we'll keep going on here. So do you believe through all this trouble we're going through in the world today, that maybe there's like a renaissance of sorts to come? We have a lot of tools at hand, I think, that can enable culture to be transmitted a lot easier. We're a world culture technically. Do you think maybe that there'll be a bigger moment in human history coming up after all of this darkness we're facing?
Yes, we are at a turning point. Actually, that's what that's why we have named our association or organization, international organization for peace and human rights, Rinascimento, which is the Italian word for Renaissance. Rinascimento, Renaissance, Millennium 3. We need actually a new Renaissance in our time. Getting together all powers or powers of peace. And we are happy that we have many luminaries, over 150 from around the world. One of them is Franca Colosso, a genius from Europe with many, many talents and studies. and Yola Quesa Olivares, and others, many others as well. You can visit our posts on my timeline and our page called the Rinascimento Renaissance to know all these people and their contribution, which is coming soon next month at the beginning of the year. We'll launch our messages through their contributions through a kind of video anthology that will display their works and their contribution, their message to the world, to our suffering world, as I always said.
Right. Do you believe there's a relationship between art and technological innovation that, sometimes I think there's an unstated, you know, intricacy there that is not really accounted for sometimes. How do you feel about that?
Well, being architect myself, because I'm from a scientific background in a way, architecture. But thank God, I specialize in architecture because the other areas of technology, engineering, or technology, or science are a little bit separated from the world of feelings and the world of art and literature and imagination. On the contrary, architecture introduces us to an interdisciplinary fields that are all connected. So we connect the technology of building, the high, which is now very developed, to the imagination and the expression in forms and expressions of belief through the masses, and the artistic approach is all there. That's why I used to teach history of art and architecture,
Mm-hmm.
because they are closely related. So
Mm,
we are talking now about a technology that makes take into consideration the artistic form and the art that also has its dialogue, open dialogue with technology. But not all the people of these both, communities are aware of that,
mm-hmm.
and we are trying to make those connections, because we live in the time of interdisciplinary
Mm-hmm.
knowledge and awareness of all sciences, kind of general system theory, general system awareness, and consequently, our contribution also should be interdisciplinary. It is not, stuck into, or being close or present into one area of knowledge, following the specialization, behind bars of specialization. We should, create those bridges,
Mm-hmm.
connecting everything. It's a connectivity that our world of complexity needs now, in order to face the complexity, that passive complexity, deadly complexity, challenging the existence, the very existence of our world,
Mm-hmm.
with another complexity, which I may call it, or intricacy, as you said it, uh, which is heavenly, taken from heaven. It is as simple as the heavenly paradigm, but as rich with all the intricacy of the divine matrix. Of we still using the divine matrix that I employ in my spiritual trend, in order to create the connectivity of all those things.
Hmm. That's very interesting. Do you think there's any obstacles or any challenges to creating this sort of interdisciplinary, I guess you could call it a renaissance that you're just referring to, or, the bridging some of these disciplines and pulling them together to form a general, human world that's much more peaceful than previously thought?
I believe the main challenge, against such a trend, of a general system theory or interdisciplinary approach, is that people stuck to a large extent to their own specialization, Some people, when you're talking about this, you're talking about art, the wonderful world of art or literature or other sides of human creativity, because of their areas, that they are locked in all their life. They cannot appreciate it. They find it another language, and that's why there are four paradigms, at least, to call them, called the metaphor paradigms in philosophy, high philosophy, which means that there are different languages that people can communicate with the world, communicate with each others. They have different language, and that's why the separation between them.
Hmm. Do you think
But
language?
yes.
I was thinking, like sort of like English now as a sort of universal language. Do you think that that also could contribute to a kind of better understanding, humanly speaking, across the world, and some of these boundaries we have between different cultures and languages can be bridged by a almost like a common denominator of sorts?
For some people who master their English language, it's okay, as you said. But for many people, and I've met genius people, especially among our members, some of our members just have Italian, their Italian language, or Russian language, a
Hmm.
German language, and still genius and can help the world, but they don't have English. And thank God, because I communicate with six to seven language with them, try to write through. So I communicate with them, and I can get the treasure they have. They can contribute the world through our organization. So language, unifying language is not the key to that problem of communication. But I would say visualization, and that's why I was keen about putting a visualization theory, modeling theory, mapping out theory through my thesis of doctorate, early the 80s of last centuries, which as I said, it is called the geometrical approach for problem solving, trying
Hmm.
to visualize everything and taking the roots from visualizing the balance of universe, that all symbols of sacred geometry, and the traditional symbols in mythology and religions and history used have been using over and over. And you can find it in all arts and so how to depict our ideas through a visual things. Maybe one of the great examples for this, you are familiar with the yin yang, the
Hmm.
yin yang,
Hmm.
and you have a set of six lines. Some of them are broken and some of them are complete, and
Hmm.
multiplied by 66, and you got 64. uh, did anybody find the relationship between that paradigm, visual paradigm, which dated, far beyond the BC, and the binary language that the computer is based on?
Hmm.
The binary, it's
Wow.
the
Okay.
same. It's the same thing, for God's
Wow.
sake. You
Wow.
have a number of zeros, a number of it's the same thing. The set
Hmm.
the number of that, dashes or broken lines and complete lines, in a sequence that create all varieties that cover all things in the
Hmm.
world, and just put it and arrange it every year in order to make harmony in the world. This is according to the religion, where
Hmm.
it started with the religious thing, but it has its
Hmm.
scientific application that we enjoy, yes, today.
Right.
But maybe unconsciously, because I haven't heard that somebody connected that thing, that model, with what we have as computer binary codes now.
Right.
I don't know.
So how do you think, with all the symbols that are, sort of interconnected and stuff, and how do we develop meaning, ourselves as a human species through these symbols, and how does that relate to the pursuit of art?
Well, if I understand your question, uh, you mean how to invest in all that in order to develop humanity, or develop art?
Well, how does where do you think the root of these this development of these symbologies, where do you think that comes from? Why do we need to construct meaning from our existence? I mean, that's my ultimate question.
Because this is to come back to your question, how to make a unified language.
Hmm.
Unified language, it can be nothing but a visual thing, because if we can say that one language can cover everything, for example, our dialogue now, if it is not related to a special level of English language,
Hmm.
linguistic skills in expression, we couldn't have touched all these details
Hmm.
so deeply. Okay, so how can you guarantee that the population of the earth will have the language, a common language, so perfectly or so good in order to communicate?
Hmm.
So we need something different, and that's why I am for using visual language. Okay, that we can develop little bit. I applied in developing curriculum, developing teaching language through some kind of 100% visualized language courses. Can be applied in different things. I applied in different ways for different aspects of problems and situations, because visualization can be our next time, our future, our future communication.
That's fascinating. I think there's definitely, a truth you're alluding to there about, we don't always speak the same language in linguistic constructions, but we can relate to, say, the human form, or some kind of capacity that we can take that and make it into a symbol that everyone can communicate through. And it may mean something slightly different in each culture, but it still has a way to communicate across boundaries. Do you have any examples of that you think are really that have intrigued you over the years?
Well, if you are still talking about the visualization system,
Mhm.
I've delivered a presentation online to some universities called entitled Theology of Space. Theology of Space. So I believe, I went deep into that. The idea of a space as being a vacuum, for many people is a vacuum, is nothingness. They represent nothingness. But in the
Mhm.
same time, it can be everything. It
Mhm.
all depends on your faith, on how you look at it, because it holds some kind intricacy, invisible intricacy or metrics that can hold all variety of anything filling that space.
Mhm.
So when you as American or English speakers use the word is filling the air, filling
Mhm.
the air, you feel there's something filling the air, and this is actually when you put it, it is like the intricacy in the invisible space hold everything. And I would like to display here, if you please, something I sent, which
Okay.
is. Something I said as visual, you can screen share it, please,
Okay.
which is
Believe we get our producer to do that. Let's do a
uh,
screen
oh,
share.
yeah. Uh, I can, okay, I can send. This is the I can send it to
Yeah, send it to Mutiu. He'll put it on the screen for us.
okay. I'll send it now. Here it is. This is a cover, if you
Okay.
want. with the title was one of my collage painting. By the way, the collage I do is not only collage of pictures, but it has background of some details of my paintings.
Okay.
Okay, as you see here, I'm combining temples of ancient Egypt with a background of painting, and I call this study the theology of space-time. So it has its own theology. This is a theological approach to understand the divine.
Just a second. We'll
Okay.
put it up. There it is.
Yeah, and it has different parts, as you will see now. And this, have you seen it? It is
Yes.
displayed already.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. And the next, this is the main sections. I will read only the main sections. I'm sharing now the main sections of this study or lecture.
Mm-hmm.
As you see here, in the presentation map, space-time in literature. I talked about literature, how the literature used in poetry and stories, other dimensions of space that we don't know, to make
Mm-hmm.
us more aware about the divinity of it. Same thing in poetry and novel. And space-time also, the second part in music. Music is a special thing, by the way, especially when you talk
Mm-hmm.
about polyphonic orchestral music, where all the melodical lines flow and create some kind of intricacy along the metrics, designed by the beats and rhythmic patterns. So it's the same thing with art and architecture.
Mm-hmm.
A geometrical, then the third part, a geometrical ontology. I talk about geometrical ontology and how the question of being and non-being can be solved through a geometrical progress. This
Hmm.
needs explanation and visualization. Number four, a geometrical epistemology. So I
Mm-hmm.
move from ontology and epistemology because for me, ontology, which is a science of being and non-being,
Mm-hmm.
goes parallel to epistemology, which is a science of knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
according to philosophy. So we have the cognitive entities, ideas, notions, opinions across space-time. And we have for both of them, the ontology, we have applications is perceived meditation, the human macro micro experience. For the epistemology, we have the problem solving, visualization, mapping out. So this is the outline, only the outline of what I presented, but it needs, of course, another session, another meeting in order
Right.
to talk about all of that. And this is one of the presentations. I tried to collect many things, to talk about many things collectively or interdisciplinary, with interdisciplinary approach.
Excellent. So, thank you so much for joining us today, George. If you want to, say some thank yous to friends and family or people who have supported you over the years, then there's a little time for that.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And I hope you can always um, follow our my Christmas poem that I used to write a Christmas
Hmm.
poem every year, and my birthday poem, which is coming on the 21st of this month too,
Okay.
and the new year talking to the time.
Excellent.
Okay.
Well,
All the
thank you
best.
so much. Thank you. This has been a really interesting
Thank
conversation.
you.
I
Thank
appreciate
you very
your
much.
time so much. This
Thank
has
you.
been New York Parrot's Literary Corner, and we had George Onsy today. We had a very interesting philosophical and scientific discussion, just kind of touching on some very broad subject matter. So, if you guys out there want to be on the show and you haven't been on the show, we definitely need some guests. So please get out there and get in touch with me at Literary Corner at NewYorkParrot.com. Thank you, D. Siafra Draper. Hello, I'm following from Monrovia, Liberia. Thank you so much for following and listening in. And thank you again, Franca Coloso. This is such an interesting discussion we did have. So, thank you so much for your commentary. That's an interesting comment there you have. So thank you so much. We'll leave that up for a few minutes. There we go. And thank you, Mahua Das. Thank you for your comments. The discussion is very nice. Enjoying the interview. And again, thank you, George, for joining us. And if you guys,
thank you so much.
If anybody would like to be on the show as a guest, you can get in touch with me, Dustin Pickering, at literarycorner@newyorkparrot.com. This has been our 222nd episode, and we're going to keep running this show. So just keep an eye out for more features in the near future. And if you want to donate, or you want to just send us a little cash to help us keep producing these wonderful shows, you can get in touch with us there at paypal.me/nyparrot. Be sure to write that down if you're interested. Thank you, Xanthi, for falling in Greece. Thank you so much. It's wonderful and pleasant to have you as a viewer. Please, all you guys out there right now watching, subscribe to our YouTube. We're looking for 1 million subscribers. We want to get this number as soon as we can. Just keep rolling the ball until we get it, And so we're getting there. We're getting there slowly but surely. We're being like Sisyphus up the hill here, but we're going to get there. So thank you guys again for watching. And this has been Parrot Literary Corner's 222nd episode. It's a milestone. Now, if you have not bought our anthology, Series 2 of The Literary Parrot, please get into the Amazon. Get on there right now and order a copy. You want to get it because this is a fascinating international anthology of literature, and we would love to have you read this book. It's an 8x10 coffee table size book, and it's got some fascinating international voices, and you probably find some poets in there and some writers in there and artists that you've never seen before, and you'll be more than happy to probably hear from you and voice your appreciation of their work. And you can network a little bit through this book, find some people you like and network a little bit. So we would love to also hear your opinions of the book. Leave us a review on Amazon. Tell us what you think any way you would like. So keep in touch with us through this program. Thank you so much. Have a very pleasant afternoon. I'm Dustin Pickering.
Thank you.
Listen to the people. Listen to humanity. Listen to the parrot. Parrot TV. Parrot TV. Parrot TV. Parrot TV. Parrot TV. Listen to the people. Listen to humanity. Listen to the parrot. Parrot TV. Parrot TV. Parrot TV. Parrot TV. Parrot TV. Listen to the people. Listen to humanity. Listen to the parrot. Parrot TV. 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 Parrot TV.
The Literary Corner, brought to you by New York Parrot TV, the voice for humanity.